Welcome to another episode of Fave 5 from Fans, the podcast where we explore all things film, cinema, and pop culture. I'm your host, Jamie Ray, and today, well, we don't have a guest.
Wait, what?
I'm so sorry to disappoint.
Wait a minute.
Bazinga! Today, I've invited the one, the only, the prognosticating professor himself, author, editor, dad, and husband, the double digits,
That's
Jay
right.
Hall. Welcome back to the microphone studios.
What's up, Jamie?
Oh man, you see it, Josimothy. What are you doing?
I'm just basking in my double digits. That's
Um,
that's where we are now.
that's where you are.
I've
Well,
got the
you got the
jacket
smoking
behind
jacket.
me. I'm here. I'm ready for it.
I love that. I'm just waiting for you to be able to fit in it. That's going to be great. I
Listen,
can't wait for that.
develop that shrink ray, and it still probably won't ever fit.
So today, as you may have guessed from the Bazinga, Jay and I are going to be talking about our fave five of the 279 episodes from CBS's The Big Ooh, The Big Bang Theory. Why do
Amazing.
I keep doing this to myself?
I don't know. It's complicated.
So, sir, you sit down, you made your list. Did you have how many episodes did you watch? I mean, I know you've watched every episode, but like in order
So
you watch.
you and I first talked about this back in August, I
Okay.
think.
I'm gonna
And
believe you.
just go with it. And at that point, just started rewatching like from the beginning.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, because so my wife and I always have a sitcom that we know and we've watched forever that is kind of just when we're sitting on the couch, not really paying attention to anything, that's kind of going in the background. And so it was time for Big Bang because we'd done lots of the other ones. We tonight just watched season 9, episodes like 5 and 6.
Wow.
So that's how much I've rewatched. Now, some of my favorites, and we'll get into this, are later in the series that we haven't gotten to
Oh,
yet.
interesting.
But so I don't know. I mean, that's probably what, close to 200 episodes that we've rewatched in the last few months just to
That's
check it out.
amazing.
I
That's great.
I love it. I've watched this thing through. I've probably watched it through 3 or 4 times. And again,
Wow.
279 episodes, and I still laugh at stuff that I know is coming,
Uh-huh.
the timing, the jokes, and I am, to everyone's surprise, a massive nerd. And so
You.
I
You.
know.
Oh,
So every single reference, like there's not a researcher or a physicist that I don't know who they are and kind of what they've done. And that's not a brag. That's like an indictment perhaps of me. But every joke, every pop culture reference, this show was made for me. And
you know,
so
I,
I have
I'm
spent
not gonna
inordinate.
call you out and say that you're a liar, but you're a liar. I mean,
What?
there's no way you know all of them.
I have yet to find one that I didn't know who they were.
And you didn't have to look up.
Nope. I'm telling you, Jane, I'm that nerd.
Gosh, okay. I
I'm
mean,
that nerd. Oh,
if
I
you
was
say
explaining to
so.
my wife the other night. We were watching the one where they take Feynman's van to Mexico, and I was like, "This is who
Yeah,
Richard Feynman was,"
yeah.
and she loves it so much when I do that. She's a huge fan of me explaining physicists to her. She's a big
You
fan.
know, I could tell that from her. That yeah, that she
She puts up with so much, and she's done it for
so
so long.
much. Yours and mine both, brother.
That's right. Yeah, they are long-suffering humans. These wives of ours.
Wow. Okay. Well, have you ever paused it and tried to figure out the problems?
Oh, like the
Like
math problems and that
yeah,
kind of
like
stuff.
math problems and stuff they're working on?
No, that's so far above my pay grade.
Oh, what's up, Mr. Smarty
No, no.
Pants?
Remember, I'm a social scientist. We don't do a lot of math.
Oh, this is true. And you do teach for a living, so
Well, not even that anymore. So yeah, it's complicated. But that kind of math was never a thing in my world. I know who
yeah,
those guys are. I couldn't explain what they do.
exactly. So you know them by name only is what you're telling me.
Well, and kind of
So
what they do,
whatever,
but
whatever. Look,
I feel like I'm trying to establish cred that I don't need to establish, so I'm just going
no,
to shut
you
this down
don't.
here.
Remember, there's only like 24 people listening to this
My
show. So,
nerd cred is well established. That's not a problem.
well, great. Well, listen, I'd say we get right into it.
Let's do it.
Um, we have sat down and made our lists of our five favorites, and I'm sure you only have two honorable mentions. I'm sure. I mean, you wouldn't do more than that. So I think we should just get right into it and listen to your two honorable mentions that you have because you only picked two.
So I'm sensing some bitterness from our last conversation where I had
No,
about 25 honorable mentions.
no, no, no,
Okay.
no, no.
Perhaps
Yes,
I'm hearing that wrong. I
yes.
do only have two
What?
because I'm going to cheat like crazy later on. So I thought I'd behave for now. And then when we get to a little further down the road, that's when things will go a little bit off the rails.
I am so not surprised.
No, you
Just
shouldn't be.
God,
I don't think in all the times we've been on here that I've played by the rules once,
never, never.
but you
But you know
allow
who
it.
does play by the rules?
Oh, here we go.
Hannah.
I know.
He is just such an amazing guest. And love having her on the show
Yeah, that's
because
valid.
she has her list put together. She has
Hmm.
no more than two honorable
Oh,
mentions,
right. Yeah.
and
Once you only had one.
yeah, yeah, and she's a lot prettier than you are.
Oh,
I mean,
of that, there's no doubt.
so, but anyway, I digress. Um,
You do. You mean to call her? We can just have her. She didn't like the show as much, but we can figure it out.
I keep her picture by the side here.
I don't need to know things like that. That
I
was
think I want to
creepy.
get one of those filters
That
that
got
could like
weird very
take a
quickly.
face and put it over yours. That would be cool.
I'm
Like
trying not to be offended, but I'm almost there.
I'm getting there. Hold on. Hold
We
on.
got one more minute. You got one more thing to say. Oh
All
my
right.
gosh.
Well, let's go to your I'm waiting for it.
Two.
Two honorable mentions.
I got two honorable mentions. So the first one is the Bakersfield expedition.
Oh, good choice.
This is the episode where they go to Comic Con, try to go to Comic Con, and things go awry.
So awry.
They're so fired up. They've got their Star Trek Next Gen costumes and makeup, and they're ready for this thing. And they realize that they are close to a place in the desert where a lot of scenes from particularly the original Star Trek were filmed. So they get
And
out.
Picard now.
Yes, fair. Although that wasn't a thing for them because they didn't, you know,
That's why I
different
said
timeline.
now.
Okay, different timeline. So
Vasquez rocks, by the way,
they
is what it's
pull
called.
over. Thank you.
Vasquez rocks. Oh!
Oh, that's
Sorry.
different.
Yeah.
They pull over, they get out, they get their costumes on, they get the makeup on, and they want to like do poses, take pictures in different Star Trek poses. They realize very quickly they don't know what those are. So it evolves into Charlie's Angels and all other kinds of nonsense. Well, while they are doing that, the car gets stolen.
The bus. Is the bus or a car?
It's a car. They're just in their car for this one.
It's not Finnerman's bus.
No, no, no. Fineman's bus is in Mexico.
Okay.
That's
Why
a
are they going
different
to
deal.
Mexico? Anyway, sorry.
And I'm ADD. Um, so their car gets stolen. Their keys are in the car. The phones are in the car. Like they're out of luck.
Mhm.
They're walking down the side of the road. And I love this episode because it's one of those moments where they recognize they aren't like everybody else.
Yes.
So they're walking down the road and they're talking about this is, we talk about adventure and we're in a way party and we're stranded. And so they're going to try to walk to find help. And as they're walking down the highway, somebody throws a slushy or whatever and hits Sheldon in the chest.
Yeah.
And so you see this kind of shift as they walk into a diner and people are making fun of them in there and there's a cop messing with them. And they
They're
basically sitting around
hot
the
and
table.
sweaty
Oh
and
yeah,
just
just makeup's
horrible.
falling off the whole
Yeah.
deal.
Miserable.
And they realize sitting around the table like we're nerds and not in a like happy
Good
way.
way.
Like
Right.
just we're so there's this thing that kind of happens. We're like, forget it. We're going home. Why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we live these kind of lives? Well, the B story of this episode is the ladies go to the comic book store because they're trying to figure out why these guys are so into comics. And they get into comics and they get into a debate about Thor and his hammer and who can pick it up and who's worthy and
Hmm.
all of these kind of things and why some can and why some can't. And so when the guys are coming back up the stairs, they hear in the apartment the three of them arguing about comic books and realize, oh, wait a minute, it might not be so bad after all.
Oh.
That's right. The heavens part, sun shines down. And so they they're standing at the door and then kind of transition back into, this alien species that we've got to go figure out. Leonard puts the bald cap back on so he can be Picard again. And in the door they go. And it's this great full circle deal of we are so excited about who we are. Oh, wait a minute. Who we are is really problematic. And
Yeah.
then back to at the end. No, 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 no. What we are is really cool and fun. We want to be this. So I
Right.
love the Bakersfield expedition for all of it, but particularly for kind of that cycle that they go through.
Yeah, I think that's great too. It's a great bookend, like you just said.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
starts here and then all of a sudden it comes back to it. And I think that talks a lot about our own self-realization sometimes too.
Mhm.
When we look down on ourselves and like you just said, you and I are nerds. We know that there's things going on that aren't going to be the same thing. Most guys are into sports, American round ball competitions or killing of the animals to eat their flesh and mount their heads, which is fine, but that's just not us.
Right.
So I see a lot of things that I do in things that, especially Leonard, because he wants to break out of it from
Right.
early on,
Right.
and you get this certain amount of, what I am is fine, and
Yeah.
I'm going to go on. Good choice. I'll allow it.
Well, I appreciate that. So my
You're welcome.
second one is the closet reconfiguration
Oh, with the
for
letter.
with the letter, right? For some similar
Sorry.
reasons, really. So
Hmm.
this is short version. Sheldon, they're at a dinner party at Leonard or at Howard and Bernadette's. Sheldon decides to rearrange or organize Leonard, or gosh, why am I struggling? Howard's closet. As he's doing that, he finds a letter from Howard's dad that's been unopened. And as you know, Howard's dad abandoned him when he was a kid. And he sent this letter to Howard when he graduated from high school. And Sheldon opens it because he needed to know where to file it because
Right.
that's how Sheldon operates. So Howard kind of loses it over this because he didn't want it open because he says, I don't care what it says. So lots of things go on and there's, all kinds of soul searching, this kind of thing. It ends with because there's a lot of conversation about why don't you want to know? Wouldn't you want to know? What if it's this? The ending of this episode is what really grabs me because
Yeah.
each of the um, cast they come back together in Howard and Burnett's apartment, and each of them tells Howard a different version of what's in the letter. And so, he said this, or he said this, or it was a picture, or it was whatever. Um, Sheldon talks about the plot of Goonies. That's his version. It's a map to the treasure. And then they tell all these stories, and then Howard they stop, and Howard kind of steps away from it, and he comes back, and they say, "Do you want to know like which one's real?" And he said, "No, I want to believe that all of them are
That's
because any
awesome.
of them could be." So somebody's told the right thing, and I don't know. I don't know that Big Bang Theory, especially as it progressed, gets enough credit for the emotional maturity of that show. Because
Hmm.
especially early on, I mean, it's a lot of nonsense. I mean, there's a lot of silliness, the Perpetual Motion Society t-shirts and all those kinds of things that are sight gags, a little bit juvenile. But as that show progressed and as the characters got older and the writing got more mature, there really is a depth to some of the emotional maturity and the relational maturity that moments like that really highlight.
Right.
That it's not just about these people who are goofy and do silly things, but it's about these people who are really in life together. And because they're in life together, they care for each other and they do what they can to take care of each other, support each other, help each other through really difficult stuff. And I think this is just a really, really great picture of that dynamic as opposed to the we're always arguing or always being silly.
Yeah. Well, and I think we're going to talk about this probably several times throughout it. One of the greatest things I felt about this show is that it does mature.
Oh yeah, they grow up.
And it's a natural progression too. It's not like from season 3 to season 5, he's suddenly, smooth, all
Right.
this guy. It does take him a long time. And so many other comedy sitcoms, they don't do that, and most of the
Yeah.
time it's the guy, the husband, the boyfriend, who does the same stupid crap over and over again,
Yeah.
and the female, the SO whatever, just that's who he is. No, it's not.
Right.
You and I both know we have to change, and uh, mature and
Yeah.
learn, that our stupid stuff can't be the only thing.
At
So
some point we have to grow up. Yeah.
yeah, I haven't gotten there yet. I feel
At
maybe
some
you
point.
haven't either. Yeah, so
No, not
we're there
particularly.
together. But that is one of the things that they do get right.
Yeah.
So again, bravo. And that last one is an excellent example of them maturing it in a
Yeah.
way that he takes that anger, which maybe a little misplaced at first because it is
Sure.
opening that letter, but it was really more about the fact that it's something that he needed to confront,
Well, and I
and
think
the way to do it.
they managed to do it without having, and on a very special episode of Big Bang Theory. Like
Yes.
back in the day when sitcoms had to have those kinds of conversations, nothing funny happened.
Different strokes and the bicycle.
Yeah, I mean, it's we're going to be serious from the jump because we're going to make a point. And this, even in that moment, again, with Sheldon talking about the plot of Goonies, and like there's still humor all the way through it, even though it is a really emotional and significant moment, which
Yeah.
is hard to do. That's hard to write, and it's hard to act. And I think it speaks to the quality of everything that was a part of this show.
Yeah. There's a couple of other instances that come to mind, but I'm not going to bring them up yet because I feel
They may come up.
they may come up. But yeah, there's another great Sheldon moment later on in the show where you can see that he's grown,
Yeah.
and I just love it. So anyway, that's
What
some
about
great
you?
stuff. All
Do
right.
you only
Well,
have two honorable mentions?
of course I do
Of
because I
course.
follow the rules. Well,
Whatever.
I make the rules, so if I have three, I just change the rule, and then therefore I'm
Exactly.
still following it. But my first one would be season 4, episode 11, The Justice League Recombination. This is the one where the guys enter a costume contest as members of the Justice League and convince Penny and Zach to join them. So
Zach.
you've got the blonde-ish, brunette-ish Wonder Woman, and Zach, he's got the spit curl and everything on it. And I love how, as we all know, Zach early on was just, I mean, he's just a big galoot, you know?
It's a good word.
Um, and they make fun of him early on because they feel, but I think this is an excellent example of later on how, again, keep using the word mature and evolved. They realize, hey, you know what? We can be friends with the jock.
Right.
And once we get to be friends with him, and then he can open up and realize, hey, I really like this stuff too. And it was a really good episode because you could see that Penny was thinking the guys were making fun, and they weren't. And anyway, I really really enjoyed that one, and of course just seeing them all in the different costumes, um,
Aquaman and
which we've already seen them, all dressed up as the Flash before, which was just awesome.
right.
Yeah, Aquaman, Raj's Aquaman was probably just the best. That was great,
Well,
but
just
I
everything
love that.
about that.
Yeah,
When they roll into the comic book store with Penny and suddenly, no one is paying attention to anything. And there was even the comment made about we can't have a blonde Wonder Woman, and somebody said nobody's gonna be paying attention to what color her hair is,
she has
which
hair. What?
in that environment is absolutely accurate. That's
Absolutely.
a
Yep.
great one. That's a fun one.
Well, thank you. The other is season 5, episode 20, The Transporter Malfunction, in which Raj gets quite a surprise when he asks his parents to set him up on a date. What does that have to do with the transporter? Nothing, because the other story is that Penny buys Leonard and Sheldon a pair of Star Trek keepsake collectibles, which are awesome because I don't know if you know this, but that was an actual real thing
Oh yeah.
because I had the Mego bridge set. Yeah, I'm seeing you pointing
Yep.
yourself. You had it
Yep.
too. But in Europe, they actually sold that transporter by itself from there's another company that is what they're using in England. And so we never had them over here, but it's the exact same transporter from the bridge set that we have. Literally, it's just cut and
Yeah.
put into the box. So what was really cool is after seeing that, and then of course, the whole thing about opening it and everything, um, I was actually able to go out later on onto one of these like DeviantArt or places like that, and someone had scanned and recreated it and set it up.
Oh,
So
that's
I was
cool.
able to download it and print it on some some cardstock, and I mean it's all and inside it's taped and it's very
Right.
fragile, but it's kind of
But it's
cool to
there.
have it
That's
sitting.
awesome.
Yeah. So again, it was an early on way of you could see that they are truly becoming friends and understanding these things. Well, we don't necessarily agree or whatnot with it. We understand it's important to you, and if it's important to you, and you're important to us, we'll do
Right.
it. So anyway, love that one.
No,
So
that's a great one. All the mess with, because the deal is that Sheldon breaks his and then wants to swap out with Leonard's because the boxes aren't supposed to be open. And so the whole deal with the Spock action figure
the
talking to
Migo,
Sheldon being his conscience, but also like the devil and the angel
yeah,
on both shoulders and trying to talk him into it
and
and all the
voiced by
different
Leonard Nimoy.
poses. Yeah, yeah. And Nimoy's actually part of it. And a Gorn shows up.
Yeah,
And anytime you've got a Gorn, you've
yep,
got a party.
that's right. Have you seen that commercial where Shatner and the Gorn are like sitting on the
Yes.
couch together? It's
Yes.
brilliant, brilliant. Wow. I did see a commercial I'd never seen before for like a German Volkswagen where William Shatner moves in across the street from this kid who's like a huge Star Trek fan. And so he finally goes over and it's in German. So it's like, Sprechen Sie Captain Kirk, and he gets into the car and it's got all the fancy glowing lights and stuff. And so he's going to take the kid for a spin, and he's like, all right, let's pull out and let's get ready to set course for. And then Leonard Nimoy drives up the other way and he looks at his car and goes, fascinating. And like drives off. And I'm like, I've never seen this
No, I
before.
had no idea. They were collecting that European commercial money right there.
Yeah, that right there, right there. Oh, that's not the only one either. You ever seen the one where it's got Scotty and Kirk, and it's like, I don't know, Star Trek 5 or so, and they're Kirk's down on the planet with like the young yeoman and a couple of other people under an umbrella storm. I mean, under a meteor shower, and he sends him down an umbrella at one point. But
I
when he
have not
beams him
seen
up,
this.
he puts Kirk's head on the young female yeoman's head body, and vice versa. And then you find out it's a commercial for like London Power or
Oh yeah,
something.
right.
You know, anyway, great
Apropos of
stuff.
nothing, but we got these guys. They're willing to cash our checks.
Which is nothing compared to the really going off on tangent here. The
Yeah, we
the
are.
the Mark Hamill Japanese commercial where he's
Yes.
dressed in the gold jumpsuit. That's some good stuff. But I know what else is good. It's going to be your number five.
Indeed. So I'm going to start at the very end.
Okay.
My number five is the finale.
All
So
right.
season 12, episode 24, the Stockholm Syndrome.
Yes.
This is the episode where they go to Sweden for Sheldon and Amy to collect their Nobel Prize. It is really a capsule of everything about the show because for most of the episode, everybody's mad at everybody else for some reason.
Right.
So they, get in an argument on the way over because Sheldon is being very self-important. They find out that Penny is pregnant, and his response is, "Oh, good, because I was afraid you were going to be sick, and that was going to make me sick." And so that doesn't start well. You've got Howard and Bernadette who are leaving their kids for the first time and are panicked about that. There's a moment right before the Nobel ceremony where everybody's going to leave and just
Right.
leave Sheldon and Amy there to go collect it without their friends. And then, as always happens, there's reconciliation. And this episode really takes off or comes together, maybe, I don't know the right way to say it, at the Nobel ceremony because you have all those people there. And, this is the moment that Sheldon's been working for his entire life. He has been working on his Nobel acceptance speech since he was 14 years old, he says in the episode. And he's got a list of people who have been naysayers that he's going to call out by name. And they get to the ceremony after everything that's gone on, and Amy gives her speech, which is basically Mayim Bialik saying, "Hey, girls, you can be scientists too," which is really
Right.
cool. And then Sheldon gets up to give his speech, and he's got the 90-page document that's ready to settle in. But he looks out and he sees her and he sees his friends and he stops. And instead of that speech, and if I can just read a little bit of what he says, I was under a misapprehension that my accomplishments were mine alone. Nothing could be further from the truth. I've been encouraged, sustained, inspired, and tolerated by not only my wife, but by the greatest group of friends anyone's ever had. And I love this moment because I think when I think about the Big Bang Theory, that Big Bang Theory is a show about Sheldon Cooper. There's lots of other people, there's lots of other things that go on, and I see your face, we can talk about it. But I think that arc is the arc that we see from the beginning to the end, and that this moment is the completion of that arc. Because if you think about season one Sheldon Cooper, and if you told him you're going to win a Nobel Prize 12 years from now,
While you're married.
so here's the problem. He wins it, but he wins it in a way that Sheldon Cooper would never, that season one Sheldon Cooper would never have believed would happen.
No.
He is sharing it with a woman who he's had things to say about female scientists, who is a neurobiologist, so not even a quote unquote real scientist based on other things he said, who also happens to be his wife.
Right.
None of these things would fit season one Sheldon Cooper. And yet here
No.
we are all this time. We've talked about all this development, all the things that go on. To see him there, to make that statement, and then he acknowledges each of his friends in turn, including astronaut Howard Wolowitz, which
Which
I
was
think
awesome.
is such a throwaway moment, but such a significant one because he spends so much time messing with the fact that Howard's not a doctor.
Yeah.
And so it's Dr. Hofstetter and Dr. Rostenkowski and Dr. Kutrapali, and then astronaut Howard Wolowitz, which is just this signal that even Howard has kind of made that moment for him.
Yeah.
And Raj is hanging out with Buffy the Vampire Slayer for no apparent reason. We don't understand what's going on there.
I
So
could give you some reasons, but
fair
she's
enough.
smart, she's funny.
That's it. Well, and she made it very clear they were not on a date, even though he
No.
didn't quite believe that. So yeah, that's my number five. The Stockholm Syndrome, the finale. You know, lots of people don't love how shows end because they're never going to end in a way that satisfies everybody.
Yeah.
I love that ending.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that choice. It's a great way to start at the top by going to the end.
Yeah,
I dig
just
it. I dig
get it
it.
done.
All right. Well, then I think I should give you mine, which is the square root of 25, or number five on my list, which
Nice.
is season two, episode seven, the Panty Pinata Polarization. You may remember this one when the fellows quickly realized that Klingon Bobble is not greater than models on TV. I just thought this was so much fun. So the main plot is that Penny plans and enacts a revenge, what becomes a revenge war with Sheldon after she is banned from he and Leonard's apartment after getting her third strike. Now, just to remind you, her strike one was the fact that she forwarded him emails to the email address that he had so generously given her, including what I think were some cat videos.
That one's valid,
Strike
by the way.
two was when not only did she touch his onion ring, but she then put it back, which just compounded the strike. And finally, strike three, sitting in his spot. So that was it. She gets banned. And then it becomes just this one up whole thing where first she does her laundry when he's supposed to be doing it. And then he takes her wet laundry, the panties included, throws them out over the wires. It's just great. And it culminates with with Leonard coming and basically giving her Sheldon's kryptonite, which is his mom's phone number.
Mary
And
Cooper.
so it really comes in and it has a great ending. One of the things I love about this is that you may actually catch the One of Us reference from Freaks, which was Todd Browning's basically Hollywood career ending movie, where he
Right.
used, real, what will they will call circus freaks, that so many people just looked so poorly on him for. But if you know the real story, Todd Browning actually grew up in the circus. And so he had seen that so many times people didn't actually give them their proper due. And so if he'd have used other actors to do it, it wouldn't have been the same.
Right. Yeah.
But and now we do that. Now it's all about using inclusivity with he was just way 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 ahead of his time on this one. So have you seen that movie?
Probably.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's been a minute.
So we know the Ramones love it because it's in their
Right.
one of their songs. But anyway, um, at the same time, talking about the models, Howard and Raj are using the absolute latest technology available to find the house being used on the television show America's Next Top Model. Finally able to locate it, break in, posing as like TV repairmen, and they don't know what to do.
Right. That's it. Raj still can't talk to girls, so there's no point in him being there.
Oh, I love this episode. It's so much fun. It's got, a lot of times you'll have not a lot of times, but with other shows, sometimes you'll have a strong plot and a weak subplot or vice versa. But I thought both of these were just great.
Yeah. Well, and I love all the way through the Penny Sheldon dynamic of,
Um,
I mean, they're basically brother and sister, right?
yes.
They love each other and at the same time make each other completely insane. And sometimes like this one, you see that bubble up.
Yeah.
And it's fun when it happens because then it's on. And
Yeah.
you realize how much, when we finally meet Sheldon's sister, you begin to realize how much like her Penny actually is
Yeah.
in the way that
Definitely.
she, is beautiful, but also physically stronger than he is, and
Right.
more devious and more willing to go to mean lengths to get
Street
even.
smarts.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Oh,
that's a fun one. That's a really
yeah.
fun one.
Well, great. I'm glad you like it. Well, why don't you give me your number four?
My number four is from season 7, episode 3, the Scavenger Vortex.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's an excellent pick.
This is the one where Raj is sets up a scavenger hunt for everybody. And it comes from like they're talking about the MIT scavenger hunt, which is a big, big deal. And so they're like, well, we could do something like that. So Raj creates a scavenger hunt for everybody. And the episode starts with them in the apartment trying to figure out teams. And as soon as, Raj says we're going to get into the couples, nobody wants Penny because everybody else is like, well, we're all smart and Penny's not. And so the first suggestion is like romantic couples. And Leonard's like, well, I mean, if there are other ways.
Ah,
So it ends with 3 amazing pairings. So you have Penny and Sheldon that go out together,
right.
which again, that dynamic we see a lot of. We know them. We we know kind of what that looks like. And what I love about that is that Penny contributes because there are things that Sheldon would never get that she knows, and
Right.
so her
And
different
vice
kind
versa.
of intelligence. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have that moment where he brings the bowling ball along, and they're like, "Why do you have a bowling ball?" And then one of the clues is at a bowling alley, and so he exclaims in the car, "My brain is better than everybody's," which he's always believed. You have Bernadette and Leonard, which are hilarious because you have the most aggressive, competitive person in the group with possibly the least aggressive and competitive person in the group. So she's literally just dragging him
Yeah.
through this scavenger hunt, making fun of him, occasionally calling him names, occasionally saying that other people had called him names to try to motivate him. So there's all of that. The great moment where he's trying to climb down the elevator shaft on the ropes and then can't get back up. But the key to this episode is the pairing of Howard and Amy.
Yes. Which you
Because these
never
are
see.
no, these two people are never together. In fact, they say when they get in the car, why don't we ever hang out together?
Really?
And then they realize very quickly because they have nothing in common
Oh, okay. I totally
except
forgot that part.
so they start to talk and realize they have nothing to talk about. And so then Howard says, we're going to put on some music. And she's scrolling through Howard's iPod and hits on Neil Diamond.
Oh.
And
Oh,
suddenly they
yes.
bond immediately over their shared love of Neil Diamond.
That's
And so
it.
the rest of the episode, every time you see them, they're singing.
Yeah.
And so they're busting out Love on the Rocks. They're busting out Coming to America.
Sweet
Um,
Caroline?
Sweet Caroline, like it just all of this stuff, and it's out of nowhere. They call their car the Neil Mobile. Like of all the teams, they're the ones that are getting along and getting it done and having a blast. And then they get to the end of the scavenger hunt, and the final clue is Sheldon's spot, which is really clever. So
Yeah.
they're all diving on the couch, they're throwing each other around, they're looking for these coins or this coin that's supposed to be the treasure. And here comes Raj saying, "Look in your pockets. I gave you the coin before we ever started. The treasure was the time we got to spend together as friends." And they turn on him so hard. Bernadette turns and looks at him and points at him and says, "You suck so bad." They're just furious that they've gone through this stuff and, had these experiences, and it was all basically for naught. And then the episode ends with one more round of Howard and Amy at the Cheesecake Factory during karaoke night singing Neil
Oh,
Diamond.
that's wonderful.
It's a blast. It's so
That
much
is
fun.
wonderful. I remember that episode, but not all these little things. So you really brought it. Good
Oh,
job.
it's a
Good
great
job.
one.
Nice way to partially redeem yourself.
Every now and then.
Every now and
Every
then.
now and
Yeah.
then. What's your number four?
Well, I don't necessarily have a number four. I have a number two squared,
Oh my
and
gosh.
that is going to be the bath item gift hypothesis
I
from
love this
season
one.
two, episode 11. Man, you want to talk about one of the things that I don't know that you and I have really discussed this yet is that in making this list, you sit down and say, "Oh, what's my favorite Big Bang
Oh
episode?"
man.
But then when you do that, oh yeah, remember that was the episode where they do this. And then you realize that's only in the cold opening.
Yeah,
Or where, like I said earlier, one part of the story is really great, one part is really weak. This was just a great, great episode because, first of all, the main story is amazing. I mean, it's Sheldon is struggling to find the appropriate Christmas gift for Penny. It's their second year basically together.
right.
They're going to be exchanging gifts, and he, of course, overthinks everything and wants to be prepared with varying sizes and degrees of gift baskets. So, in preparation for that, he's got them all, stored away. Um, at the same time, you find that Leonard is kind of crushed, disappointed that Penny has developed an interest in an attractive physicist at the university.
That's right.
And, now he feels like, okay, I could have had this and now it's gone and I'll never get it back because I'll never look like these. And the way that it evolves after that, their relationship, the struggles they go through, getting together, breaking apart, getting back together. I think this is really one of the first times where we're seeing that he's like, I've got to figure out how to live my life without her.
Yeah.
And then okay, I can't live my life without her, and then these other things. So you've got that going on, and but then at the end, when it finally comes time for the gift exchange, and of course Kelly Cuoco is just a doll. I mean, she looks so cute with her little Santa hat on and everything. She, of course, is forced to give her gift first so that he's ready to, have that equal exchange. And he opens it up, and it's a fabric napkin from the Cheesecake Factory. And she's like, so what, And she goes, oh, well, Leonard Nimoy was in and that was his napkin. So I get it. She goes, oh, and I had him sign it too. And then I'm sure you remember this. I've got the DNA of Leonard Nimoy. And he runs off and comes back and he has every gift basket possible that he bought, gives them all to her, but then he gives her the hug.
Right.
And the look that she gives Leonard, um, it's an amazing look, but at the same time, it with knowing what's going on in Leonard's heart at that time and stuff, um, it really shows that they are a family of friends,
Yeah.
you know, and it just I don't know. I just love, especially when he comes back and I have the DNA of Leonard
I
Nimoy.
could clone. Yeah.
So, that's a fun one.
It's a great. So we actually just watched the episode in season 9 where Nimoy's son is doing the documentary and wants to
Oh,
interview Sheldon, and he brings out the napkin, and there's a whole conversation about I have Leonard Nimoy's DNA right here, and Will Wheaton says, "Well, this is his son." And he's like, "Well, that's only half of his DNA, so you don't count. We're not going to keep you." But this is the real deal. This is the whole thing.
you know,
That's a Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I've met Adam Nimoy.
Have you really?
I did.
Wow.
I went to the Grand Slam convention in well right there in Pasadena, and there was like this sideshow that I could say it now because I think the statutes of limitations have run out.
Oh no.
Um, I faked a business to get passes to go into the
Sweet.
vendor thing, and Adam Nimoy was there. And this was when he
Amazing.
was doing his own project. I think it's when he was either, I think he had just done the Outer Limits episode with his dad, the iRobot one.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so we're talking and whatnot. And I got him to like sign an envelope or something.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, I just had to throw that out there. Some nerd cred, you
That
know. Plus,
apparently that's what we're doing. We're racking that up tonight.
I'm also a rebel because I faked some IDs.
You're probably the only one there that did that.
Probably so. Oh my
There was
God.
nothing actually sold during that entire convention because they were
No.
all fake.
It was all just like you could show up and here's what the things we'll be selling, you can
Oh yeah.
set some stuff up and whatever. I was like, uh-huh, ooh, I get to see this before everybody else does. Which, I'm such a
Kids
nerd.
kids don't do this. For those of you
No,
listening, don't
don't,
don't act this
don't.
way.
All right. Well, let's wrap that story up before the federal investigation
That's
starts.
right. Knock
And
knock.
you give me your number three.
My number three is from season 11, so we're staying towards the back end of the
I'm
show.
noticing that. You said that though.
Episode 24. So again, another end of the season. This is the Bow Tie Asymmetry. It is Sheldon and Amy's wedding.
Yes.
Dude, this episode from the very jump has everything because the opening of this episode is Wallowitz finding Mark Hamill's dog,
That's it.
Bark
That's it. I thought that's
Bark
who that
Hamill.
was.
Yeah. So, and in so Mark Hamill says, "Thank you so much. Is there anything I can do for you?" And Wallowitz says, "There is this one thing." So Mark Hamill becomes the officiant at Sheldon and Amy's wedding instead of Will Wheaton,
Yeah.
who gets kicked to the sideline again. And that whole dynamic of Star Wars and Star Trek and the big star versus the kid star who was kind of
Oh yeah.
thought of in a certain way during Next Generation.
Really? Which way? I'm not
It's not terribly positive. I don't know if you've heard.
really. No, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, it's come up a couple times. Um, so that part of it's fun, but you have their parents show up, and Amy's parents are Kathy Bates and Teller from Penn and Teller, who continue to run the gag that he can't get a word in edgewise because she dominates the conversation. So, in fact, you never hear about Amy's dad. She never talks about him. And then suddenly here he is and he shows up. And so through most of the episode, he just does what Teller does. He's shrugging and he at one point pretends to hang himself because she's making him crazy. Um, you have the wedding getting delayed because Sheldon and Amy are starting to think about super asymmetry, and so they're kind of in the back doing their thing. And so somebody tells Mark Hamill to stall. And so in a room full of nerds, he says, "Does anybody have any Star Wars questions?" And that goes exactly where you think it would go, except that he can't answer any of them because they are asking the nerdiest Star Wars questions, the deep dive Star Wars questions. But you know who can answer them?
Will
Stuart
Wheaton.
from the
Oh, I
comic.
thought it
No,
was Will
Stuart.
Wheaton.
Stuart from the comic book store is in the back answering all these questions and making fun of Mark Hamill because he doesn't know the
I
answer.
don't remember that. Oh my God.
He's got every one of them, and he's there with I can't remember her name, but the girl he ends up with. It's kind of
Hmm.
their first date from the comic book store. But the centerpiece of the episode is Sheldon and Amy when Sheldon's putting his bow tie on and he can't get it straight, and Leonard says, "Well, sometimes a little asymmetry is a good thing," and that leads to like this thing in Sheldon's head that he can't get rid of, and that becomes super asymmetry, which is ultimately what they win their Nobel Prize for.
Right. 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 Right.
So he goes into the dressing room where she's getting ready, where she's gotten ready, she's ready, and he steps in and he goes, "Oh my gosh, you look like a swan," because that crazy wedding dress that she has. And then he starts talking to her about it. And then the wedding is delayed because they are writing, it looks like in lipstick, on every surface in that room, trying to work out the math and think through it. And so it's this really awesome, like, because he'd been so defeated about dark matter and how that didn't work, and he really hadn't found his thing. And so then here's this deal that they're doing together. They come in. The wedding is amazing. Sheldon's vows, where he says, "There's a lot I don't understand, and I'm confused about a lot of things, but I'm not confused about being with you." And
Oh,
just really, again, sensitive and kind of mature moment. And then it ends with the two of them walking down the aisle to Barry Kripke on the karaoke machine singing "At Last My Love Has Come Along," and it just, from the jump to the very last moment, this is one of the best episodes of the show.
that's awesome. Oh my gosh. I, you know, totally, first, before I even say that, I saw the actor on another show one day, and I was amazed that he didn't have that same voice. Blew me away.
Right.
I was like so confused.
Yeah. Because he's so good at it.
Yeah, he really is. But no, that's an awesome pick. Like you said, from the beginning to the end, it's just packed.
It just
Uh,
goes.
Definitely easy to see why it would be on your favorite list. Good job.
All
All right.
right. What do you got? What's number three?
So next up, for my number of Apollo 11 astronauts
Oh my
is
gosh.
the two the sep the is the season one episode 15 called the pork chop called the pork chop interdeterminacy interdeterminacy
Are you are you speaking English? What is happening over there?
indeterminacy.
There it is.
This is the one with the aforementioned sister, Missy,
Yeah.
where Leonard, Howard, and Rosh fight over Sheldon's twin sister when she arrives in town to see her brother, Shelley.
Shelley.
And oh my gosh, this lady was perfect. She was the best foil you could think of for Leonard. I mean, for Sheldon.
Yep.
That everything that was so annoying and so off-putting to everyone else, she just eats it up and turns around and does to him what no one else can do.
Right.
And I loved the way that, first of all, the guys were all clamoring over, and she knew it, and she was just
Right.
not even eating it up, just playing with them so bad. And the other part of the episode is that Raj has finally said, you know what? I've got to get rid of this selective mutism. So he starts taking a drug trial,
Yeah.
which has a very interesting way of revealing more of Raj than he probably should be in the center of the coffee shop.
Oh yeah. But wait a minute, you haven't seen? Yeah.
It's a little breezy in here.
Oh my gosh.
So this was just I've watched this one several times because it is one of the few episodes where you see a completely different Sheldon. He is so
Right.
off his game.
Right.
He is just, he's not even mad. He's just like perplexed at how do I
Yeah.
beat her. And I love how, if I'm not mistaken, you're not a big young Sheldon watcher, right?
I've never seen it.
Yeah, yeah. So the young actress who portrays young Sheldon's sister is just perfect. I mean,
Nice.
the casting between the two, well, as a matter of fact, um, Sheldon's mom in the show, right? In his
Right.
show. So the actress who plays young Sheldon's mom is that actress's daughter.
Is it really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
So, I mean, no wonder they
Right.
seem so much alike. But anyway, this is just a favorite of mine. But like I said again, because of the way that you don't see him like this in almost any other
Right.
episode.
Well,
Even
every
when
time
he,
we go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
Well, I say every time we get a glimpse of him with his family, it's such a different Sheldon Cooper, even when he's trying to be imperious and he's trying to be, I'm the smartest guy anybody's ever met. every one of them has
Yeah.
developed mechanisms to
Oh my
knock
God.
him back a peg or two, and
Even
it's just
Meemaw.
fun to watch. Oh yeah,
Oh, even Meemaw. Oh,
the whole crew is screw up brother. That
yeah.
we really don't meet until late in the series.
Yeah.
They've just all got ways to kind of remind him that he's just Shelley Cooper.
Yeah. And that's another perfect casting with Jerry O'Connell because the young guy who plays his brother,
Yeah,
um, oh man, I mean, it's again perfect casting.
that's
You
awesome.
you really should watch it. So instead of your seventh rewatch of Big Bang, I suggest you go and watch
It's
one
like
watch of.
comfort food. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, why don't we take a break for just a minute and talk about what's going on in your life? I know you just got back from, or are you back from Thanksgiving break, and now you're
Oh,
going into finals?
we are back.
Yeah.
We are back so hard. Yeah, so we've got a couple weeks in finals and then we get a little longer break and yeah, I think we're all ready.
Wow.
Anybody who operates on a school calendar, if you have kids, if you're in school, you know what these 2 weeks between Thanksgiving and the holiday break are like. It's
Yeah.
just, can we survive? And so that's what we're trying to do as best we can is
Just push through.
survive.
I
Just
got you.
just get it done.
Yeah.
But it's also a good time to get lots of other things done. You know, we have, as I'm sure you do, 10,000 holiday related things that have to be accomplished.
Right.
Um, but there's also just kind of these dead spaces because people assume that you have too much to do. So yeah,
Well, with those dead spaces, maybe you could, oh, I don't know, start writing on your next book.
stop it. Well, so as we've discussed, we're working on that. We're working on
Okay.
a college book, actually a couple of different books for college students and about college life. But I'm also, and I'll plug this shamelessly and then move on.
Do it.
Um, am working on creating video content for TikTok. My wife and I
You're
thank you.
so, oh, you're
Stop it.
so funny.
My
No, really,
wife
what
and
are
I
you doing?
actually, we both started TikTok channels at the same time for very different reasons. So she
Okay.
does like cooking stuff for young adults, so people who are out on their own for the first time, learning how to cook. So she's got great stuff there. And I'm
Nice.
just doing book content because that's kind of my thing. And so like reviews and other stuff. And it's just been fun to mess around with. It's fun to kind of get engaged in that community as other social media communities seem to be falling apart a bit. And I won't name any names. We'll just give you maybe a letter that you could think about. Um, X, perhaps. Uh, so that's just been a lot of fun to kind of explore another way to talk about books, engage with people about books. We have the podcast. We love the podcast, but it's not as you know, it's less interactive in a lot of ways because you put it out there and then you're hoping to engage with folks around it, and to be in a medium where you can put content out and also be able to interact and engage with other creators at the same time is just it's a ton of fun. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I've not made my million followers yet. I'm
You're
only
so
about
close, though.
I'm only about 999,000, I don't know, 800 or so short, but almost there. Almost
Well,
there.
you know what? I'll start following you, and maybe
Oh,
all of my followers from TalkTick can go and add to your army.
that'd be amazing. Army.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Army's the right, because there's nothing that screams Army like a bunch of people that love to read. That's the most militant group you could possibly get into. But yeah, so if you're into book stuff, it's at Okie Bookcast, just like everywhere else. Come check it out. Let's talk. Let's hang out. Let's do book talk together. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. And again, where can they find your multitude of
So the
shows, but
media empire, I
your
think, is
media
is how
empire?
we think about that. Everything's at okiebookcast.com. So the interview shows that we do with Oklahoma authors and bookish folks, the book chat show that I do with my daughter that you spoke so highly of earlier, where we just talk about stuff that we're reading and why you might like it too. All that stuff is there,
Yeah.
and lots of other bookish content. But okiebookcast.com, okiebookcast across social media. Um, Come say hey and let's talk about books.
And of course, go buy your book on
Oh,
Amazon.com.
you're
And once
kind.
again, its incredibly long title is
God help me, I'm a young dad. 10 essentials for becoming the dad your kids need.
Awesome. Get two copies.
At
And you can
least.
download the free extra
Yep.
bonus content too.
Yep. The free
Dude,
30-day devotional guide is
I
out
am
there in the world.
selling this. I'm
Listen,
selling this, man.
the marketing revenue will be coming your way very soon.
Well, awesome. I am glad
Fun
to hear.
stuff.
Well, the season here is wrapping up. We're getting into um, con season again.
Yeah.
So I've already got two cons in January that I'm looking forward to, and just lots more. And we're gonna have a really great 2025.
There's a documentary called The King of Kong that
Oh,
is
okay.
about the best Donkey Kong players of all
Oh
time.
yeah, I've seen that
It's
actually.
amazing. We need a documentary called The King of Con that
Uh-huh.
is just people following you around to all these places where you're going across Louisiana and Texas and other spots, just being Jamie.
Let's make that happen.
People would flock
Let's
to that.
let's make that happen. Maybe I could
Incredible.
do the King of Con where I wear a Ricardo Montalban costume
What is happening?
and then it could be Con.
No one wants to see
Or
that.
or then I could wear like a Hamburglar outfit and I could be a con. Because a con. Because a con.
I would like to apologize to everyone listening right now that I feel like I might have started this.
Oh, unless they're first time listeners, that they expect it. So,
Okay, fair. Completely fair. If you're a first time listener, please just hang with us. He'll be done in a
yes.
second.
Go back and listen to last week's episode with Hannah Joy, the
That's right.
fabulous
With my
guest.
daughter. So much better. So much better than this.
Well, all right. Well, enough of this stuff. I
Okay,
am
so
now
before we
ready.
get to
Yep.
this,
Oh, okay.
because you do this to me all the time, you ask me questions that I'm not prepared for.
Okay. I wasn't
And now,
prepared to do that yet.
exactly. And so this time I'm going to turn it on you,
Oh,
right? Because it's your turn, because I'm
okay.
just taking over at this point.
Do
We're
it.
breaking rules.
Do it.
I'm taking over.
Hmm.
I want to know your favorite regular occurring guest star. So not somebody that shows up one time, so not like Carrie Fisher, but somebody who is on the show multiple times, however many you want. Who's your favorite?
Ooh, that is a good one. So what do you consider three or more appearances?
I'm not even going to get that specific with it. Basically, somebody who shows up at least a couple of times. We'll just say a couple of times.
Okay. Um, oh, wow, that's a good one. I like that. I would like to guess, not
You're not
guess, but
guessing; it's your favorite.
say, I, I kind of think we're going to pick the same guy. I don't know, but I'm going to say Bob Hope. I mean, not Bob Hope. Oh God, Bob Newhart.
Now that would be news if Bob
Yeah.
Hope showed up.
If we both did it, then we need to adjust our medications.
Right? Yeah, there's something very wrong at that point. No,
No,
I'm with you. Bob Newhart
he
is
was so
absolutely,
good.
80 something year old Bob Newhart who still has just that incredible timing, that incredible dry
Mhm.
humor. Um, as Professor Proton, where all he wants is to kind of just live his life
Yeah.
as you know,
Or his death.
well, even afterwards, right? And Sheldon just won't leave him alone even after he dies.
Right.
When he
Right.
comes back as a force ghost, basically, and
Yes.
helps Sheldon through some of his stuff. There are some incredible, I mean, you think through the span of the show, some incredible people who had regular arcs or had, recurring characters that came on 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
We've talked about Will Wheaton, and I think,
Kevin
Big
Smith
Bang
has
Theory,
been on 2 episodes.
Kevin Smith, Kate McCucci, who was one of Raj's
Oh yeah.
girlfriend, who had the
Yeah.
social anxiety that kept climbing out the window, is hilarious on the
She
show.
is. I loved her on
Um,
Raising Hope
oh yeah, I mean she's
with the
she's
dead tooth. Yeah.
awesome.
Oh, well,
Um,
LeVar Burton would
right,
also be
right,
amazing. I
yeah,
mean,
who shows up multiple times
oh,
in
yeah.
different ways. So just all of those, because it was a show that everybody in those worlds wanted to be on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and we've mentioned Barry Kripke, some of the Leslie Winkle and some of the other
Stephen
characters
Hawking,
that are part of it, makes multiple appearances
multiple
and
appearances.
and has a pretty apparently incredible sense of humor about himself.
He does. From what I've heard, the same thing. He's a
Just
huge listener of the show, or was a huge listener of the show. I mean, just
was he?
yeah,
But he's
yeah.
not
Still
still because
listens to it. Him and Elvis get together,
that'd be
and
a Bob Hope thing. We're back
yeah,
to that. No, I think that's the right answer. I just think Bob Newhart, everything about him on the show is everything that you've always loved about Bob Newhart, except that now he's on Big Bang Theory somehow.
Yeah. You, okay, I can't do this without talking about Bob Newhart. Two things about Bob Newhart. Did you ever listen to his like 60s stand-up comedy?
I've not, and I'm very intrigued by this.
You should find it. It's and if you can't find it, I have it on vinyl and I could convert it for you.
Oh,
But I'm sure
nice.
it's out there on YouTube or
Oh, yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Oh, so sharp. So sharp.
Which is not surprising at all.
No, no. And then second, you want to talk about the best season finales or series finales of any show ever was the Newhart show.
Oh, yeah.
When he wakes up, did you know in that episode the entire studio audience it was made dark. They moved the sets around and then turned the lights back up as you saw it on TV. So
Really.
the audience didn't even know what was happening.
I love that. I
Yes.
love that.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Great. But all right. Well, no. Well, that's a
Okay, so there you
very,
go.
very good question.
A digression that
So
actually was worth something.
yeah. So I would like to put you on the spot.
Let's go.
If you could go ahead and give us pi to 27 decimal points.
Starts with a 3.
Hmm.
And then there's more after that.
Uh-huh.
I know 3.14. Again, if I
Oh,
haven't mentioned already, social scientist.
I win. I win.
You can have this one actually.
All right. So now,
Yes, thank you for
now,
indulging me.
you're welcome. So what are we at now?
We are at your favorite word.
Yeah. What is it?
It's penultimate.
Yeah.
Nobody says
Who says
penultimate.
penultimate?
You
We
do
do.
all the time. At least all the time I'm on. You may not do it for
Every
everybody
time.
else.
No, trust
Actually,
me, I do it
you
every
do it
time.
every time.
On the
I'm
video
aware.
shows, I have a little sparkling GIF that goes up. And now I actually have like 9 different GIFs that say penultimate
Oh my
as they go
gosh.
across the top.
We need one
So,
that says insufferable that goes across the top.
oh, I have a tattoo of that. You want to see
And
it?
then,
It's
no,
stamp
I do
craft.
not. No, I do not. I don't want any part of that. So I'm going
I'm
to go ahead and
gonna
talk
have to
about my
look that word up
second
after
one.
this show.
Insufferable? Oh, you know. Listen, you know what it means.
Oh, trust me, I'm 54 years old. It's not the first time I've heard of
Tina every day. Oh, I'm sorry.
that.
My
True.
second. So this is where I cheat,
All right.
and
I knew it was coming.
unapologetically.
No, of course
And
you do.
and part of the cheat is right, like I've ever apologized for it before. Part of the cheat is because in my head, these all happened in the same episode. And it wasn't until I went back and started looking where I realized, oh, wait a minute, this is like 3 separate episodes where this arc
Okay.
takes place.
Okay.
What I'm
Okay.
talking
I'm
about
intrigued.
starts with the comic book store Regeneration, which is season 8, episode 15.
Uh-huh.
And the focus that I want to talk about for a second is when Howard Wolowitz' mom dies.
Yes. Because the actress passed away.
Right. And so they had to write her off the show
Right.
because the actress had passed away like literally just weeks before they had filmed all this
Right.
and had to reconfigure some things during the season to get this in. But this is, the comic book store is burned and they're getting ready to reopen, and there's all this other stuff that kind of goes on where Sheldon's making everybody crazy, and again, stop me if you've heard this before. And they get to the comic book store and Howard realizes that Stewart has taken the furniture from his mom's house because she allowed it
Yeah.
to put new furniture in the comic
Like that
book
little
store.
sitting area and stuff.
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
couch. There's a couch and a chair and a table. And his mom is actually in Florida on vacation visiting family. And while they're arguing about the furniture being in the comic book store that he's going to take it back, Howard gets a phone call, and it's his aunt, I think,
Yeah, I think you're
who
right.
calls and says, "Your mom's passed away. She lay down for a nap and she never woke up." And again, it's one of these moments where things get like a hard shift to the right
Yeah.
towards the more mature and more emotional. And so Howard sits down, everybody kind of nobody knows what to say. And Sheldon says, "Can I say something?" Which for Sheldon is kind of a big moment, right? To actually
Right.
ask. And everybody immediately says, no, no, no,
No,
no,
no,
no, because
no,
they're
no,
afraid
no.
he's going to say the wrong thing. And then Howard says, no, go ahead. And Sheldon says, When my dad died, I was by myself and I didn't know how to handle all of that. And he said, Howard, you're not alone. Like we're here, and I'm not saying it exactly right, but we're
No,
here
yeah,
and
paraphrasing,
we're
sure.
going through this with you. And it's this perfect moment that then they insert a laugh behind it because Penny says, I thought he was going to say something that's kind of been a running joke throughout the episode. And then that episode ends with most of them in the apartment sitting around on the couch. Howard and Bernadette are gone because they've gone to Florida to take care of her remains. And they have this kind of extended conversation about Mrs. Wallowitz
Mhm.
that ends in a toast to, here's to Mrs. Wallowitz, a mother to us all. And they're talking about the actress.
Right.
And I think what grabs me about this episode and the other couple things I want to talk about real quick is how real the emotion, like these people are not acting, they are
No.
genuinely mourning for a colleague, for a friend, for somebody who's
Yeah.
been a part of their life for 8 years, because she shows up at the very beginning of the show,
Right.
who they've now lost. And whether you know that's going on or not, you feel the emotion of that episode and of kind of what they've experienced. So in the next episode, Howard and Bernadette are coming back from Florida. They have brought her remains. She's been cremated, so her remains are in a bag that gets lost when they get back to the airport. And so a lot of the episode is Howard interacting with this person at the counter, but also experiencing this guilt that he didn't take her to the airport. I
Right.
didn't have time to take her to the airport. I made her take a taxi. And he tells this story to Bernadette. And the great moment of the episode, Bernadette goes back to the counter and she tells the woman, you had better find that bag because one way or another, we're leaving here with a dead woman. And it's the perfect Bernadette moment that breaks kind of the emotional tension of
Right.
that conversation. But it's also, again, one of those moments that a lot of us who have lost people can relate to,
Sure.
where you think about those last interactions or I wish I had, all of that, all those feelings that are a part of it. 2 episodes later is the thing that just gets me every time and will probably get me as we're talking about it. And that is an episode called The Leftover Thermalization.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So this
Hmm.
is where the power goes out at Howard and, well, the Wallowitz home. And Howard realized, and it's not going to be back on for a day.
Right.
And Howard realizes that all the food that his mom has made and is in the freezer is going to go bad, and runs into the kitchen and starts pulling things out. And like, this is the last brisket, and this is the last matzo ball soup, and this is the last whatever. And I again, as someone who's lost people as you have, I absolutely relate to those moments of the finality of those losses. And they hit you in weird places about weird things.
Yeah.
And so this idea of this food is going to go bad and I'm never going to have it again. And so they decide to just cook all of it and have a big party and bring everybody back to kind of celebrate her and her food. And so, the running joke is there's not a vegetable to be seen. There's, except for the ketchup packets that they find in a random drawer.
Yummy.
They decide, exactly, they decide to cook it all.
That's actually not a
They,
vegetable, though. It's a fruit.
well, it's
There's still
actually
no vegetables to be seen.
sugar water, but that's a different conversation.
Sorry, please continue.
No, thank you. Thank you, Captain Food Pyramid. Um, so they have this dinner, and it's one of those episodes where Leonard and Sheldon are fighting because Leonard didn't get proper credit in an article that Sheldon had done an interview for, whatever. But they come around the table, and even as they're still kind of sniping at each other, eventually this comes around to, again, the recognition of they have each other, right? And
Yeah.
there's a great moment right before they eat when Howard comes out and he says, "Guys, I just want you to know this is not a sad time. Like, this is just an opportunity for my mom to feed us one more time."
Yeah.
And so they have this meal, and then the great moment at the end, they're sitting around miserable, and they all talk about how they've never eaten this much in their life. And um, an article pops up that another scientific periodical has done an article about their paper and has given Leonard proper credit. And so they all kind of go, yay. And then I think it's Bernadette from upstairs says, I found more Tums. And they're like, yay. They're very excited. So I'm sorry, that's a long way around. But the thing about this whole progression, I think, is one, how real it is
Yeah,
because they were actually mourning something they lost, but also how real it is because every piece of it is relatable. Like
yeah,
the people who wrote this knew what it meant because again, they had just experienced it, but knew what it meant to lose somebody and how that stuff shows up in different ways.
yeah. And I love how the furniture, when he finds the news, he sits down almost, you almost don't notice it, but he
Right.
sits down in his chair from his mom's house
Yeah.
with the news. And
Yeah.
you're right. When, when Sheldon tells him, I want to say something, everyone's like, no, 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 no. You're kind of waiting for it.
Right.
But when it comes and he says it, it's like, wow, yeah, he's dead on,
Yeah.
dead on. Um, so I have to remember, is the last one when she yells about the Tums from the attic, is that the first time Bernadette has the mom voice?
So no, it's so what happens there, thank you for she pulls Leonard and Sheldon out of the room
Yeah.
because they're still sniping at each other. And so she says, both of you out here now, and takes them out and starts wearing them out.
Okay.
And that actress has managed to nail
She does. That's why I'm
Wallace's
asking.
voice. And so Howard says around the table, does anybody notice that Bernadette kind of sounds like my mom? And they all go, no, 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 no. But those of
I
us who are watching
remember
are
that
like,
scene.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Wow. No,
Awesome.
that's great. And you know what? I'm gonna allow it
I appreciate
because
that.
yeah, because you really had a great um argument as to why it should be included as one. And I mean, this is my straight face. I'm being honest here. That was a really great don't try it again. But
Well, and again, it's because of my like just forgetfulness that it wasn't all in one thing.
yeah,
So
yeah, it
when
is
I
true.
was writing my list, I was like, well, I got to talk about this episode. Oh, wait a minute. That's 90 minutes. That's
Can't
not
talk, yeah, can't talk about that. I got to talk about this and this. So,
right.
wow, excellent. I really like that one. That's a
Good
great one.
stuff.
And again, it's fiction mirroring, fact
Absolutely.
in real life and vice versa.
Absolutely.
So
All right.
great.
What's your number two?
Well, my
Thank you.
selection is episode 9 of season 6 called The Parking Spot Escalation. This is another episode where everyone gets involved
Yep.
and it just escalates to the point of just utter ridiculousness. So basically, the whole gang is drawn into a fight because Howard and Sheldon, sorry, between Howard and Sheldon, because Sheldon now has a parking spot because of, I believe, someone passed away and he got the spot, which is fine, except that Dr. Cooper doesn't own a car, which that's irrelevant though.
Or a driver's
So
license.
yeah, or driver's license. So it becomes this escalating battle with lines drawn between the gang as to who's right and who's wrong, with this just stepping up of okay, we're going to do this. So Howard's going to paint his name on it, and so he's going to put it, and then so finally it gets to the end, and I love this. And if you haven't seen it, I'm sorry, but I'm going to ruin it anyway.
Do it.
So Howard brings his Mini Cooper with his leather seats and all of that, and he parks it in the spot. And then when he comes back, there's Sheldon butt naked, rubbing it all over, and it's just, uh, you have to say, bravo, Sheldon,
Oh, it's
bravo.
so good. Well, because you're right, because it does keep ratcheting up, right? Because that's the
Yes,
whole deal where before that, Howard is sitting in his spot, also naked with his laptop in his lap,
right.
and away we go.
And away we go. Yeah, yeah. And again, I love how they kind of just divide the group about
Oh
who's
yeah,
right and who's wrong. And I mean, come on, we know who's right, but it's like, how do you explain to someone like that?
right.
You don't have a car to park in the spot, therefore you don't need the spot. But
But it's
whatever,
mine.
it's
But it's my
mine. It's
spot. It's
my
my
spot. You
spot.
can't you
Well, no,
can't sit in it.
the thing about it I love is how the significant others end up going at each other
Yes,
really harder than the guys do.
with the purse, right? Isn't that where
Well, that's
she
when
hits her?
Penny gets smacked with it.
Yes, Penny gets smacked in the
She
while they're
gets
two
caught in the
fighting.
middle of it.
Yes, yeah, I remember that. Oh, good stuff.
That's a great one. That one's so fun.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, we have named a lot more than the therefore enumerated number that we should have.
Subtle.
But as that may be, we are now to your favorite episode of Chuck Lorre's The Big Bang Theory.
My favorite episode can be summed up in three words:
Okay.
James Earl Jones. And I'm
Okay.
talking, of course, about the Convention Conundrum, Season 7, Episode 14.
Great episode.
Dude, so they're trying to get tickets to Comic-Con. They don't get them. Sheldon decides he's going to create his own convention
Mhm.
and has a whole deal early in the episode about all the different people that he's invited and contacted. Um, there's a great bit where he's allegedly talking to Robert Downey Jr.'s people who, are blowing him off. He tells Leonard there's some folks you're going to have to call because of restraining orders. So all that stuff goes on. But then he finds out through Twitter where James Earl Jones is going to be.
Right.
And so he goes to this sushi restaurant, and you have this interaction between Sheldon and Darth Vader, essentially. And if I can walk through it very quickly, and I promise I will, James Earl Jones looks up over the top of his menu and sees Sheldon standing there with that goofy smile on his face.
Yeah.
And he says, "Let me guess, you like Star Wars?" And Sheldon nods his head. He goes, "I've been in other movies too." And Sheldon nods his head. So, "But you don't care about those, do you?" And Sheldon shakes his head. And then he says, "Let me tell you something." And this is the moment on which the entire episode turns. He says, "Let me tell you something." He's still kind of in that gruff James Earl Jones voice.
Yeah.
And then a massive grin breaks out on his face. And
Yeah.
he says, "I like Star Wars too."
Right.
And invites Sheldon to sit down with him. And away we go on a
Right.
night of mayhem where James Earl Jones and Sheldon end up on a Ferris wheel. They end up singing karaoke. They end up eating ice cream together. There is mention of a strip club that they go to together. They go ring and run at Carrie Fisher's house,
The best
which is this
part.
great moment of her coming out and going, "This isn't funny anymore, James." And
Yeah.
he
With the
says, "It is
bat.
to me." Did you know that is the first time Carrie Fisher and James Earl Jones met?
I have heard that before.
So I heard
Um,
it and I kept looking, and like it seems to be true. But
yeah,
because he
because
did voiceover stuff for Darth Vader, he was never there.
right, right. And I also thought that they must have been together on a special
Yeah.
or one, but I've heard that too, that that's the first
Yeah.
time they were together
First
on
time they
screen.
met.
You know.
Which is amazing when you think about all of the shared history. But Darth Vader is not in the holiday special, so
Yeah, that's
there
true.
wouldn't have been that
And
opportunity.
and we can't talk about this without talking about Dave Prowse
Right.
and how they stuck it to Dave Prowse. But anyway, I won't go there. I say we can't talk about it, but we won't talk
And
about it.
yet
But
you
yeah,
brought it up.
yeah, I will.
But it ends with this great when they're in the sauna and he is talking about, we can't go to Comic-Con, and James Earl Jones says, "Well, why don't you just come with me? And you and your friends can come, and I will take you to my favorite place on earth, Tijuana." And it's just I love everything about it, but the thing that I really love is this side of James Earl Jones that you never get to see.
Right.
Quite honestly, had no idea was there, but he's having a blast. You can
Blast.
just see
Yes.
it. He's telling this story about, Angie Dickinson and whoever else in the pool, and just living it up in the opposite of way that you think of, the voice of CNN and Darth Vader and Mufasa.
Uh-huh.
That he's having an absolute blast. And so do we,
Yeah.
because it's just
They bring us
it's
along.
such an unlikely pairing. And to get to be a part of that just ride is so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Bravo. Bravo. Good pick.
Great stuff.
I love it. I love it.
All
All right.
right. Match
You ready?
that.
You
Give
sitting
me your
down?
number one.
All right.
Let's do it.
My absolute final favorite episode of Big Bang Theory comes from season 3, episode 8. It is the episode that made me emulate this in the bathroom. And I'm talking about the adhesive duct deficiency. Yes, I have yellow
Amazing.
ducks in my bathtub
That is
to stop
incredible.
the same thing.
Honestly,
Uh,
we all were holding our breath to see where that was going. So
no,
thank you that that's where
the
it
look on
was.
your face. I wish I had been recording this for video. When Penny is forced to turn to Sheldon for help after she dislocates her shoulder in the bathtub because she did not have the aforementioned adhesive ducts.
Yep.
Best line, Sheldon, that's not my elbow. It's so much fun because, again, the brother and sister,
Yeah.
balance that they have going on. He is now, he knows he's forced, not because he has to, for whatever reason, except that she's family
Right.
and she's family friend. And so he goes and he takes care of it. But the other reason I like this one is because of the other story where the guys go out to the desert to watch a meteor shower
Oh,
and then accidentally get stoned
get baked.
with brownies that some of the nice old hippie ladies
Oh
gave
my
them. And
gosh.
they spend the evening with their shirts on their heads, looking up at the skies and talking about just oh God, it was
Well,
so fun.
that's the moment we find out about Howard and his cousin
Yes.
because Raj
Th-
brings it up and they're just howling about it, as are
Just
we.
so, oh my God. Such a good episode. And so this is one of the ones that you can watch over and over
Oh yeah.
again. Um, the only thing that would maybe detract from it, if for someone else would, is that it's got the much pared down cast in this episode
Right.
because you have the three guys who are out on the trip, and then you have the two of them, and that's it. There's no Bernadette, there's no Amy, there's all these other characters. It's just the five of them.
Yeah.
But you know what? As far as I'm concerned, it more than makes up for it
Oh,
in just the situational humor, the jokes, like you said, the cousin, and again, my favorite line, Sheldon, that's not my elbow.
just that
Uh,
whole dynamic of him having to help her,
yes.
and he is not a helper by nature,
Oh no. Oh no.
in any way, shape, or form, but the discomfort that he has all the way through that. I mean, he has to drive
Hmm.
her car with the engine light on,
Yeah.
everything about it. And I think, Kelly Cuoco does such a great job of playing up, that she's legitimately hurt
Yeah.
and also, trying to get him to, being frustrated and exasperated with him as she's also like in pain and
In pain.
trying to deal
Yeah.
with that side of it. You're right. That's a great one. That is a
Wow.
great one. That's
Well,
one I
thank
laugh
you.
through every single time.
Every single time it's on, I stop and watch it. And one of the things about it is that he's not dis like the whole place where he is helping her dress
Yeah.
is not uncomfortable to him
No,
at
it's
all.
clinical.
Yeah, it's clear, very clear. It's the fact that it's the other things that bother him. The fact that she didn't have the ducks on the tub.
Right.
And I think he even mentions it before she slips. And so then he's like trying not to say, I
I
told you
told you
so, but
so.
he's
Right.
unable to not tell her
Well,
that.
and just so many little things, the whole deal about when he's pulling clothes out to put on her and it's the
Yeah.
wrong thing, like that shirt with those
Oh,
shorts. No, I'm not
oh
going to
no,
do
no.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. She's in pain. She's going to the emergency room,
But
but
she's
I
still
ain't
penny.
wearing that.
She's still penny. I'm not going out in public like that.
Well, I'm glad you approve, sir. And I approve
Oh,
of your
absolutely.
list.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well
Thank you.
done.
Well, good for both of us. We did a great job.
Self-congratulations is the best kind.
The best kind. Sometimes the only kind we get.
Well, fair.
Well, folks, that concludes the countdown of our favorite episodes from Chuck Lorre and Bill Prodi's masterpiece. Just
Yep.
masterpiece. Chef's kiss, The Big Bang Theory. Um, I would seriously tell you to go and watch Young Sheldon because I think
Yeah,
you
I'll
would.
check it out.
It is a different vibe. Um, so there, we're in that for you. What are you
So
gonna do
here's your
about
random young Sheldon trivia that I shouldn't know about.
Okay.
Did you know that the actor who plays Sheldon's dad on Young Sheldon was actually on The Big Bang Theory?
I did. He was he also a coach?
Nope.
No, he was a bully.
He's the bully.
That's it.
He's Leonard's bully that they meet in the bar,
Yeah,
and he's super nice to him when he's drunk, and then he's undrunk, and he's still a bully.
not so much. Yep. 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 Now that's great. Yeah. Next
Random
time maybe you'll
casting.
get me with one of those. Yeah. But not this time, buddy.
Not this time.
Well, again, thanks for taking all of the time to make this list and to watch all of those
Oh,
episodes and record it for this one time because
so
we
fun.
definitely have not tried to do this
Right.
before.
Which is how
Yeah,
I didn't get you this time, right? Yeah.
no, not at all. Um, I'd also like to thank all of you out there. We know you have a choice in podcasts, and we appreciate that you tuned in to Fave 5 from Fans, and we hope you had a fantastic time.
Clever.
Thank you. If you enjoyed it, we would be eternally grateful if you shared our podcast with a friend and gave us a sparkling 5-star rating on your preferred podcast platform. Your support is invaluable in helping the Plastic Microphone Studios flourish. And listen, just between us, even if the episode didn't quite hit the mark for you, karmically, we would be fine if you just fib a little and leave us a good review anyway. I'm not going to tell anyone. You're not going to have to tell anyone. If it bothers you and you want to go to confession, that's fine, but the priest can't tell anyone either. Okay? So it's okay. We also encourage you to engage with us on social media platforms like the aforementioned X, Twitter, or the Gram, or J Hall, Blue Sky,
Blue skies. Yeah.
Blue Sky, or even your TikTok,
Oh, yeah.
which you and I are going to be superstars at. I can tell.
We've got the face for it for sure. We're the right demographic for TikTok.
There you go.
Nothing greater than
Like
54-year-old
50-year-old balding. Well,
guys.
I'm balding. You've
Yeah,
got
I'm
this
not
glorious
bald.
locks of hair.
Yeah, I do.
Um, let's keep the conversation going and make this podcast community even more vibrant and exciting. Thank you for being a part of our journey, and we can't wait to share more thrilling content with you in the future. Stay tuned for more Fave 5 from Fans adventures. New episodes come out every Friday, unless they don't. So be sure to subscribe and follow us so you can catch all of the episodes. And remember, folks, it may not be the best, it may not be the most popular, but if it's your favorite, then it's good enough for us. Thanks for joining us. Jay Hall, take us out.
Bazinga.
Good one, sir. Welcome to another episode. So we were having dinner last night at Chewy's, and there's this family with like, I don't know, 4 kids, and the dad is just like,
Been there.
he's got his Modelo beer, and he's like, oh God, it's all girls, all
Oh,
girls. Yeah.
dang.
And they finish up and they bring them some of those push pops,
Right?
and I look over and I'm like, ice cream from a toilet paper roll. Yummy. I thought he was going to spit his beer
And he
out.
just said, thank you so much.
Yeah, I needed that.
That's amazing.